You don't want to sit next to me?
I mean, I could, but yeah.
It's
We
okay.
got our names for us.
Oh, hey.
How nice.
See, that's seating like we do in school.
Okay, I guess.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Baylor player press conference. Please note that the Baylor locker rooms are now open to the media. We are joined by Bella Fauntleroy and Jaden Owens. We will begin with in-person questions, and if time allows, we will follow up with any virtual questions. For our people that are for our in-person folks, please wait until the microphone is handed to you to ask your question. We also ask that you identify yourself and your affiliation.
Thank you. Bryce Cherry, Waco Trip. Jaden, last night, obviously a huge win. Do you try to ride that high into tomorrow night, or do you have to kind of like come down from the mountaintop and just sort of refocus?
I would kind of just start off with, yeah, there's a high, but at the same time, we have a lot to learn from that game, obviously, first quarter specifically. But, yeah, I think as we keep the high, but at the same time, it's on to the next. You don't want to think about the past, and you don't want to get too low. You go in with a positive mindset, and I think that's what we've done. I think it's carried into today. But at the same time, refocus again.
Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider. Bella, for you, that was your first tournament game. So were there some nerves maybe? I don't know that was all that the first quarter was, but was there a little bit of nerves there early?
I won't lie, yes, but I don't think that I let it show, and it's more a feeling of excitement than actual nervousness because, this is something that everyone on the team has worked really hard for their whole lives, but to have this moment with this group has been really special. So a little nerves, but more excitement to get out there with them.
Jaden, can you speak to the growth of the freshman a little bit? Because obviously, she was huge last night, hitting free throws, getting a big offensive rebound. Obviously, we've seen Bugs grow throughout the year, and even Kyla step up at different times. Has it been fun to see the babies grow up?
Oh, my goodness. I don't even want to cry talking about this one. They're amazing. I can honestly say we have the best group of freshmen. Without a doubt, I wouldn't want any other freshmen. Those three are just they're sponges. They want to learn. They want to get better every day. Every time something happens, they want to learn from it. Every experience they get, they're going to grow from it. And I just feel like the amount of growth that they have had is insane. I don't know. They're just amazing, and I'm just so happy I got to be on a team with them three because it's an honor to play with them. I love them so much. And they're like my little sisters off the floor. I feel like I love it how it's not just basketball and it's not just off the floor. I think they're just a well-rounded bunch, in my opinion.
Derek Smith, Baylor Radio. Jaden, there were a couple of stretches yesterday where the team was just on fire from three, and you were dishing the basketball. Seemed like anyone you passed it to was hitting it. But what's your mindset in a stretch like that? What changes for you as the point guard distributing when you've got a bunch of players who are hot?
Get them the ball in the best position. I feel like we had so many hot hands, and I feel like just over time of playing with them, I know where they hit best and stuff like that, but yesterday's game, they were hitting from everywhere, so it made my job very easy just getting them the ball. That was my first thing. As soon as I got the ball, my head's on the swivel. I'm trying to find them. And one thing about them, they made my job very easy, and, hey, I'm happy.
WTX. This is for both of y'all. Y'all happened to out-rebound Alabama by 1 last night, so definitely the things that you worked on this past week certainly worked, but UConn has a lot of size, and so, are you looking to kind of make the same adjustments as y'all did this past game, or what's kind of the approach with a team that's just a little bit bigger?
That's up to our coaching staff. I think whatever they say is what we're going to do. We don't have a specific say right now, but we're going to do what they say.
Just to kind of follow up on that, Remy, with the New York Times, can you talk a little bit about the dynamic between the players and the coaches, kind of what personalities or roles each take between, support, whether it's in practice or off the court?
I feel like the leadership that we have on this team, and not just our upperclassmen, but every coach wants us to have our voice and feel like we're being heard. So even if it's something as simple as asking a question when we don't understand, or if we have a suggestion on how to improve or tweak something and we think it might be better just because we're out there actually experiencing it live, our coaches are really receptive to that. But at the same time, they're like, okay, guys, this is a game plan. I know you might think this will work better, but it's our job to put you in the best position. But they definitely are very open and receptive to any sort of any feedback we have.
Bella, in terms of UConn going up against them, I mean, I'm sure you guys will get a lot of the scouting report today, but, I don't know how much of their game y'all got to see, but, what kind of impresses you about them?
I think they're a really well-rounded team. I don't think they have a single kid on their bench or on their roster that doesn't know how to score the basketball or be effective within the role that their head coaches put them into. But at the same time, I think that that's the same for everyone on our team. We can be just as effective from every position. And the big focus for us is most likely just going to be matching their intensity the whole game and playing 40 full minutes with them, minute per minute, shot per shot. So.
Any more questions for the student athletes?
Jaden, I know you don't always necessarily go against the other team's point guard, but Nika Mule, what do you see from her? And seems like she's kind of the one that makes them go.
Yeah, she's a great point guard. I think she's also very well-rounded. You can tell she's huge on a pass first, just getting her team involved, just a true point guard. So I think, one, that'll be a good challenge. I'm excited, and, yeah.
Picture of things. I think anyone growing up wanting to play basketball in college probably, looked at the UConn team, probably both of y'all. So, I mean, could you talk about, is there any kind of sentimental feeling that y'all get to play, very historic team in the tournament? I mean, did y'all ever dream of anything like this, or what is this feeling like for y'all? Just, you're playing UConn, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very well-known school basketball team, but I've also dreamed on playing at Baylor. So I think that's something that's an honor. And it's exciting. I love to play good teams, for us to be challenged, but I'm happy for who I'm playing with across my chest, and I think that's the most exciting part about it.
Well said, Jay. I don't think I could follow that up. That was great. I absolutely agree.
Hi, Megan Gower, her hoop stats. Someone mentioned, the size that UConn has, and you guys have played, Texas in your conference. They have a lot of size. Got a win over them a couple weeks ago. How does that matchup kind of help prepare you for this game and give you some confidence going in against UConn?
Go ahead, size. We are really fortunate to have a decent amount of size in our lineup, and we always make jokes that we have guards and big guards, or we don't have regular guards. We have big guards, and then we have our posts. And I think even though we have a few people who aren't on the tall side, they still come out every single game and give their best effort. Whenever we have switches and they have to battle in there with the posts, we're coming in and helping them, and they work their tail off to make sure that there's no true mismatch. So I think that the size matchup will be just fine. You are. Thanks.
Speaking of the size, for either one of y'all, is anybody playing bigger than Sarah Andrews right now? I mean, she's like y'all's Brittany Griner, blocking shots.
Listen.
Yeah, no, that girl's been going crazy. I don't even know. I watched the game back last night, and one of the reporters was talking about how amazing her defense was. I don't know. Sarah's what, 5'6",
Yeah.
5'7", but the way she rises up, that's Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but we love it. That's a big guard to us.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Thank you, ladies.
Thank y'all.
And as a reminder, just please make sure your phones are on mute or vibrate. And please welcome Baylor head coach Nikki Cullen. Right here.
Hi, Pat Eaton-Roth from the Associated Press. Nikki, we were going through your resume and trying to figure out if you had, as an assistant coach or any time, ever faced Geno before. Have you? And obviously, everyone's got a lot of respect for the program, but what is the biggest thing about this program that lets them get to 29 straight Sweet 16?
It's kind of interesting because this is really a true story. So, my first year in coaching, I was at Colorado State, and then honestly, because of my relationship with the head coach, I didn't coach my second year there. So that second year, I did radio for Colorado State, and I'll never forget. We were at the booster function on Selection Sunday, and it might have been Selection Monday back then, but my husband had just said to our whole booster group, really excited about how we finished. We just want to avoid that 8-9 hole at UConn. And of course, UConn was the overall #1 that year. And immediately we went up on the bracket. And no one in that room knew whether to clap, cheer, because he just said, all we want to do is avoid the 8-9 game against UConn. So that was like my first experience. That was Sue, Diana, Swin, Asia, and Tamika's team. So I got to call that on the radio, and we were the 9 seed. We played Maryland and beat them, and I think I don't remember how many threes, but it was similar to like last night. It was like 14 threes, 16 threes. I remember in Geno's press conference, he said they won't even shoot 14 threes, let alone make 14 threes, and so that was my first experience playing here. I don't know if we lost by 30 or 40, but I technically wasn't on staff because I was doing the radio that year. But when I was at Louisville, we were in the Big East. So I'm very familiar with Geno's programs. And honestly, got to know them really well through the W because I had Tiffany Hayes and got to know Chris Daly during that time, had Renee Montgomery, so Morgan Tuck when I was with the Sun. So what makes them good? I mean, I think it's funny as we are staying 45 minutes away and doing this drive every day. I think one of the most impressive things that Geno did here was ever get someone to come here, which sounds horrible, but when you know that they have to fly into Hartford for an official visit, and then they have to make that drive, and I told Tony, I said, well, they can put shades in the limo and like talk about the 13 championships. Now no one's looking out the window at the woods anymore. And so I think what's so impressive is kind of the beginning here, why they became good. And obviously it had a lot to do with Geno's coaching, his passion, his, learning from Debbie Ryan and coming here and creating something where the top players in the country year in and year out, it didn't matter that it was Storrs, Connecticut. It mattered that it was UConn and they were playing for championships. And so no matter what league he's been in, when the league was heavy, maybe the non-conference wasn't as good. Now he'll play anyone in the non-conference because he was going to run the American. And so I think it starts with talent. He gets great talent. But I'll admit that when I was in the pros, everybody knew that UConn players were ready. Like, I think that was the thing when you coach in the pros and you're scouting players. UConn players were pro-ready when they got there. They were pro-ready terminology-wise. They were pro-ready in terms of spacing and understanding the game. He does such a good job of spacing. Their defense is underappreciated because their offense is so pretty. So I think over the years, people get hung up on whether it's his chin action or whatever. It's not always been the same for the last 20-some years, but it's always predicated on spacing and cutting and ball movement. So they've always been pretty, but they defend the heck out of you too. So I don't know. That's the longest answer you'll get.
Sherry Wake Trib. Nikki, I was trying to think back to another time where y'all had like a big win and then a quick turnaround after that in another game, and maybe Villanova and then playing Michigan the next day. Do you try to ride the high of yesterday, or do you just have to like come down from the mountain, refocus? Here's the game plan.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to refocus. I mean, I think you don't show up and beat UConn without preparation. I don't think that. I certainly think we're the underdog. You know, I saw him one. Autumn Johnson has us of the 32 teams left in the tournament, ranked 32nd. You know, I saw that there's 6 perfect brackets left. I'm sure none of them have us beating UConn. So, you know, I just think it's this idea that what we have to do is prepare and believe, and then own the underdog role because we don't have anything to lose. It's going to be a packed house against a really good team that's expected to win. Haven't looked at the spread. I'm sure it's not close, you know. But I think we have to take the momentum away from how we played 3/4 of the game yesterday. But we got to be better. You can't spot UConn 10 points, let alone 18, and we know that. You know, like it's and that's no disrespect to Alabama because I thought they were fantastic. But this is UConn's home court, so it's as much that as it is. You already feel like when you play on someone else's home court, you got to be 10 points better than them. So you certainly can't spot them points. So I think we have to be ready from the beginning and really be focused on personnel because in one day, you're not going to get all their elbow action stuff done, their isolation stuff, their back screens, their you know, you just have to take away the simple things.
You mentioned that one of the UConn teams that was everybody kind of knew going into the tournament that they weren't going to lose, and they've had several teams like that. But you know, this year they went 7-3 their last 10 games. All the games were within 10 points. Is there a difference in this year's team, and is there a difference in the team that's playing in the tournament versus the one that closed out the regular season because AZ's back and all of that? I mean, they still don't have Paige.
Yeah, I mean it's they haven't had Paige for a game, so you know they got to learn to play without her from the beginning, I think, and certainly Nika Mule being as good as she's been running the point and getting the ball to other people. I'm sure obviously Paige would make them more dangerous. She's as good as they come in college basketball, but you know I think they've. You know, I don't know that you compare our two programs, you know, even this year, but we've dealt with a ton of injuries. They've dealt with injuries. They've dealt with concussions. We've dealt with concussions. Like, it's a revolving door. We've both played down numbers where, you know, I thought I was going to have 13 this year, and we've rarely dressed down more than 9 per game. And so, you know, I think that probably some of those losses, you know, I mean, when they lost in Marquette, and you're talking about tight turnarounds that they were playing because they'd played South Carolina and what he does in the middle of the season on bye weeks for them. But they were down Ducharme that game. They were down Fudd that game. I think maybe they're as healthy as they've been. I don't really know 100%. I just know that they're active at least. And we know that they've got, you know, more than 5 people that they're going to play. And so they could be peaking at the right time. I also read a quote by Nika that said, "We're unbreakable because we've broken some this year." So does that make you unbreakable, or does that make you, you know, like it's a lot easier when you dominate everyone to just assume you're going to dominate everyone. But I think it's a really, really good team, and we're going to have to play great to compete. I mean, do they have, you know, 5 number 1 draft picks in their starting lineup like they've had some years? Maybe not. You know, like I was part of the Morgan Tuck draft class in Connecticut where they went 1, 2, 3 with Mariah and Morgan and Stewie, but those are some really, really good players in the Husky uniform. So we certainly aren't taking it for granted.
Jerry Hill, Baylor Bear Insider. Nikki, obviously rebounded better last night than you did in the Big 12 tournament. How do you match against 6'5", 6'3", 6'1"? How difficult is that a match?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's we have to use our speed. We have to box out early. We have to pursue the ball off the rim. We're maybe quicker on the perimeter. They're longer. I mean, it's a team that they, when you look at their statistics, Aaliyah and Dorka dominate the defensive glass for them. I mean, their guards don't rebound a ton. They're not one of those teams that's got guards averaging 2 offensive rebounds a game or 5 overall rebounds. I mean, those two kind of patrol the glass. Certainly, Aubrey Griffin is a good rebounder as well from kind of that swing position. But we're gonna have to. It's gonna take all 5 of us. We're gonna have to hit and hold Aaliyah. We're gonna have to try to be quicker on Dorka, and then we're gonna have to really use our guards to be scrappy and run down long stuff. So, probably how they felt against South Carolina. Like it's just, it just kind of depends on the matchup. But I will say we definitely don't match them size wise. That's for sure.
Come on, Jerry. We kind of laughed about it last night with Sarah and, Brittany Griner comparisons and stuff. But have you ever had a guard with, like, the timing, the instincts that she has in, challenging a shot?
I think she's kind of figuring it out herself, to be honest. Like, I think when you look at those, and certainly people have been frustrated and down the stretch thinking that she's fouling, but if you see any of them on replay, there's tons of space. She's just running people down from behind, waiting for them to go up and blocking it from behind when the ball is exposed. And so, no, I mean, I said it before, like usually when you see guards that get a lot of blocks, especially smaller guards, they're usually strips. You're stripping them on the way up, not timing it up on the tops. But, I just think she's kind of figured out it's something that she can do. And sometimes those like little light bulbs go on at different points in your career of things you're capable of doing. And so, I thought she even had one that was called a foul that was close, but to go get Rice's shot last night, who's 6'4", and it is about timing. And she's not even probably when it comes to vertical jump, she's not even one of our best verticals on the team, but there's a difference between IQ and timing and all of that on blocks.
Maggie Benoni from CT Insider. What was it about Chloe that you wanted to bring her onto your staff?
I wish I could get rid of her. No, Chloe. People think I brought overtime Chloe on staff because of the NIL stuff. I mean, people really thought I was like thinking outside the box, and with the timing of the hire and NIL coming into play that July 1, and that was a piece of it. But I would have created a position that wasn't a coach if that's what was important to me. I think all you have to do is spend time on the phone with Chloe to know how relational she is. I wanted someone, I've said this a million times, like I'm 47 going on 14, but I'm still 47. And, I have kids that are these players' age. So having a staff member that's a little bit younger and kind of understands the dynamic and personalities and, has a better feel down to the music, down to like what they think. And then the social media component, I do think no one's better at that than her. I mean, her understanding of the true name, image and likeness, the concept of actually making money on your brand as opposed to collectives and things like that are obviously in play. She gets it because she was doing it. And so her guidance for our players, her understanding how you can make money off your social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram. So she's special that way. But I'll tell you, she knows the game. I mean, I love point guards. She thinks like a point guard. She played point guard. She played with really good players. And you know really quickly, because I'm a big believer in when I have someone on my staff, I don't pigeonhole them and you're a recruiter, you're a scouter, and a lot of staffs do. I believe in if I'm going to help grow an assistant coach, they got to be able to scout. They've got to be able to sell the scouting report. Some coaches are great at doing the scout, but then their delivery isn't great. Chloe's incredibly articulate. She works hard, and she does a good job of explaining to our players what they have to do, why they have to do it. But she connects to them in a unique way. She's really, really special. I was really, really lucky. I think people really thought I was doing it for the NIL, but she's an unbelievable coach.
Last question right here.
Lila Brown with the Hartford Current. Kind of just going off of that, how have you seen Chloe find her voice as an assistant coach, and just what stood out to you the most about her growth into this role?
Yeah, I think one of the fun things about Chloe is she's pretty darn smart, and I'm a big believer in finding people on my staff with different type pedigrees. Like I really feel like because of my history and how I got to where I'm at, like I like people that would go anywhere to coach, like that have. And while Chloe isn't in that situation and she came from a totally different route, I consider her a grinder. And whether it's true or not, I think that's something that young people have to learn to do. And I think she already, in the most positive sense, had learned to hustle and just in a different environment. And I think when she first got the job, she told me, she's like, I thought, man, I could probably be a head coach in 2 years. And she said, then I listened to you talk, and I thought I got a long way to go. And so I think it's kind of the humility and this idea of kind of needing words of affirmation to know she was doing a good job. Like she isn't someone that as much as she projects confidence, still realize really quickly that she did have a lot to learn and, would find ways to sit next to me whenever it was her scout. She's like, you need to be sitting next to me on the plane when we leave, because I've got some Nikki clips, because I'm very, when you've been in the profession as long as I have, there's terminology, there's, okay, that's just chin. Like everyone understanding what chin is, what point double is, what, conceptually what we're going to call things. She's like, now, is that horns weak or is that chin or is that elbow? What is that? And really, really dialing into understanding how I think and how I want things done, because I'm an information person and I tend to like a lot of information, but I like the information to be given to me in a certain way. I want it to be sequential. I got my degree in engineering. I like numbers. I like don't put a horns flex in and then the next play is something in a high ball screen. I want all the horns actions. I want all the high ball screen actions. I want all the floppy actions together. And so I just think she's really grown in terms of her understanding of how to teach the game. She was always good in the individual part. She's unbelievable in terms of her loyalty and how she talks to kids and how, you never. One of the challenges with young assistants is do they understand the line in the sand of you're on staff and not, like you can get close to players, you can't get too close, and she does that so beautifully. So I think that's one area where I think like she just got from the beginning. She got the concept of I'm on the staff, but I can really connect to these players and get them to hear the message a different way.
Thank you, Coach.
Can't wait to read this article about Chloe.
Good afternoon and welcome to our student athlete press conference. Just a reminder, please keep your phones on mute or silent. We are joined by student athletes Nika Mule and Aaliyah Edwards. We will begin with any in-person questions, and if time allows, we'll follow up with virtual questions. For those in-person folks, please wait until the microphone is handed to you to ask your question and begin by identifying yourself and your affiliation.
Pat Eaton-Robb from the Associated Press. Aaliyah, I know these are two very different teams, but such a classic game 2 years ago, and I'd like to get your memories of that game, what it meant, and that final play. Foul, no foul?
Yeah, I already knew this question was coming, so. I mean, feelings from that game, we won it, so I think that's really what I take from that game. You know, we're into 2023 now. We're moving on to something better. And I think that, you know, leading into the matchup tomorrow, we're just coming in prepared and making sure that we play the same way we played yesterday, but even stronger and coming out more aggressive.
Maggie Vanoni, CT Insider. Nika, you talked yesterday about how you saw Aaliyah has really grown up and grown into a leader. How have you seen that in her just off the court?
I was expecting that question too. I mean, she's just been on a whole nother level, and it's not even next level. It's the next after the next after the next level, and it's just what she does every day in practice. You know, she's been so much more vocal this year. You know, you can tell she wants to win that game in practice. It all starts in practice for her. So it's just seeing her strive, and you know, she has done so much work in the off season and in the summer. She came in so strong at the beginning of the season. We were all, you know, so happy for her, and just, you know, she just does what she does every day, and it's not surprising and it's nothing new. It's just who she is, and I don't even think we've seen the best of her. So I'm excited to what's coming, especially tomorrow.
Aaliyah, can you talk about your personal growth with the game, outside of the game, maturity-wise, since the game 2 years ago and, you know, more recently? And then, you know, what has it been in your game these past couple weeks that have allowed you to take it to that next level?
Yeah, what's helped me to get to that next level is definitely maturity. And, you know, I was a freshman last time we played them, and we were in the bubble, so, you know, that kind of environment, it was challenging in itself, but, you know, we faced so much throughout this season, and I think that I've just grown basketball-wise, but just as a person, you know, realizing that I need to just be competitive and to be really dominant for my teammates and for my coaches every game, and that's in different ways. It's not just about putting up numbers or anything. You know, I take pride in rebounding because it brings extra possessions for the team and extra opportunities for us to get something offensively and defensively for transition offense. So, yeah, I think just my mindset has shifted, and it just continues to expand, and I think just locked in for tomorrow and just for March.
From the New London Day. Nika, you were on that team also that played against Baylor in San Antonio, and like Aaliyah just alluded to, you were in the bubble, so everything was like kind of magnified, and you got to stay for a whole extra week. Can you remember any of the excitement or any memories from that game at all?
I mean, it was fun being in the bubble. I'm not gonna lie. You know, we were just been so close that year and like super connected. So I actually haven't played in that game. I don't remember. I think I was either injured or the coach just didn't put me in the game. But I really wanted to play that game. It was super aggressive. The refs were allowing a lot of contact, and I don't know. It was just a great game to play in. So I don't remember much from that game. I remember that last call, though, and what everybody talks about. But I said before Vermont, like they asked me if I would rather play Alabama or Baylor. I said it doesn't matter as long as we, you know, come out the same way, which we will. But I'm excited to play Baylor because I haven't played them my freshman year, obviously. So I think it's going to be a good game.
Angie Vanoni, CT Insider. For either one of you, Aaliyah, I saw you were there watching the Baylor game yesterday. What is it about them that you guys feel would be the biggest challenge tomorrow?
Just an aggressive team. That game, it was a nail biter. They played all the way to the end, and just going into this game tomorrow, that it's a game of possessions. So I think the same way that we came out and we started yesterday, we hit them first, and we just kept hitting them for 40 minutes, and we just got to come out with that same intensity.
Nika, they came back from 18 points down yesterday. You guys have given up some leads this year. Whether you've lost those games or not, you've let teams back in. So what's going to be the difference? How do you make sure that doesn't happen, and what happened to Alabama doesn't happen to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, for the whole year, Coach was emphasizing do not underestimate anybody. We played some Big East teams that came from us leading 20. They came back, and we lost some games like that. So just his emphasis on not underestimating anybody and never stopping to punch during the game. Like every possession, as Aaliyah said, matters. No matter if we're up 20, if we're up 30, or if we're down. So just having that in mind, having in mind that they came back from such a huge lead and that they're capable of that, and never backing down and never letting go of our lead, and just making it bigger and bigger. So just having that in mind and never backing down. Not even in the fourth quarter if we're up 20. Doesn't matter.
Any more questions for the student athletes? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
please welcome UConn head coach Geno Auriemma. And just for a reminder, wait till you're handed the microphone and announce yourself with your name and affiliation.
Pat Eaton-Robb from the Associated Press. Coach, there have been several games this year where you guys have taken big leads and let the other team back in the game. After seeing what Baylor did to Alabama yesterday, what have you talked to your team about in terms of not falling into that same trap?
Well, it'd be nice to find out, which means we have a big lead, which I don't anticipate that going into any game, at this point in the season. But I'm a firm believer that this time of the year brings out your best characteristics and your worst. So you'll see a team that you would say, I've never seen them play that bad before. And they'll play like that in the NCAA tournament for whatever reason. And then teams will play way over their head. And you say, I've never seen them play like that. Sometimes it happens in the same game. It's really, really difficult to come back in a big game unless the other team helps you. So NCAA tournament time, you just have to assume that everybody's playing for their life, and whatever the deficit is, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. So that's the message that I've been sending for I don't know how many years, and it'll be the same message to this team. Thank you.
See, any other questions?
Megan Gower, her hoop stats. This Baylor team may be a little bit different than the Baylor teams you guys have seen in the past in terms of their identity, but what do you see from this team going into the matchup that strikes you as areas where they have strengths?
Anytime you have a coaching change and a change of philosophy and a change in personnel, you're going to get a different look. And I watch them play, and their style of play is a little bit different. I think Nikki coaching in the pros. I think there's a lot of that influence on their team, the way they play. Really, really, really heavy ball screen stuff, So that's a little bit different. More so guard play than the post players that Baylor had in the past. So they traded, one thing for another, and still managed to get to this point. So the way the way they shot it yesterday, they could probably beat anybody. So this time of the year, prepare for everything and expect anything.
The New London Day. Geno, you have such a history playing Baylor. Even though it's different, does it bring that back a little bit? Like, oh no, we have to figure out how to guard Griner tomorrow, or does it bring it back a little bit?
It's certainly been a lot of games, a lot of big games, and I don't know how many times we've played them, but it seems like every time we do play them, there's there's a lot at stake. There's a lot of great players on the floor. Those Brittany Griner teams were absolutely incredible and so, so difficult to play against. We were fortunate. We had Maya in some of those games. We had Stephanie in some of those games, and Tina in some of those games. So we had enough to offset, not stop, but offset some of the stuff that Baylor would do. But every game was classic in its own way. And I really liked the people down in Waco. They were always great to me. I remember one time I walked in there, I thought it was a home game for us, and I wanted to see if I could charter a plane and bring them all back here. So, yeah, they bring back great memories, but this is a different time now.
Chelsea Sherrod, SNY coach. Nikki Cullen said that it seems like UConn is peaking at the right time. Do you feel like your team is peaking, or do you feel like, there's still some more ironing out the kinks that need to happen?
I think there's still more. We're trying to incorporate AZ. We're hoping we get 100% Aubrey, which, bless you. So it seems like every time we add somebody, it's like unwritten rule, we add somebody has to step out. So I think there's more that we can do. There's another level that hopefully we can get to tomorrow night. Where that is or what that is, I don't know, but I would like to think that given an opportunity, tomorrow, and if we're fortunate enough beyond, that there's better basketball ahead for us.
Geno, going back 2 years ago, first of all, Lee will comment on whether that was a foul or not. I'd like to get your thoughts on that at the end of the Baylor game. And then in terms of her growth over the last 2 years.
Oh, I can hear you, don't worry.
So in terms of her growth over the last 2 years, she played very well as a freshman, but now she's at this incredible level. I think Nika called it the next level that she's gotten her game to. So if you could just comment on who she is now versus who she was at that game.
Yeah. If I remember correctly about that particular game, there were a lot of fouls in that game. Some were called, some were not. Whether that one was a foul or not, I don't know. I never watched the free throws, so I could answer it exactly the way I answered it. If you want to be a really good player at Connecticut, you have to do extraordinary things. You can't just come out and say, hey, that kid's pretty good. That just won't cut it. That won't get you to the place you want to be. And I really think that the biggest motivator for Aaliyah was that her freshman year showed so much of what she can do and so much promise, and it didn't materialize her sophomore year. And this year it's come together for her, and she's worked at it, and it would be the same answer I just gave about our team. I think there's way more that she can do. There's a lot further that she can go, and time will tell. But the progress that she's made and the contributions that she's made, how many more things she's able to do that she wasn't able to do. That's just a testament to her and her hard work. And, she was given a lot to work with, and she's worked hard at it.
Follow up on my question before. Do you have a quick status update for Aubrey and Lou as far as how they're feeling physically?
Well, how they're feeling is how they're feeling. I mean, that's not going to change, but I expect both of them to play tomorrow. You know, my hope is that, you know, they can play as many minutes as we need them to play and that they can be effective. But they're both going to be available.
Carl Adamek, Journal Inquirer. Geno, how encouraged were you by what you saw from Caroline? Because just from eye test, just from watching, it seemed like this was the most active she has been in quite a long time, and making a couple shots, some good passes, getting a couple rebounds and things. How encouraged were you by that?
Very, very encouraged because first off, Caroline's is a terrific competitor. You know, she has a hard-nosed streak about her that allows her to perform in big games. She's not afraid at all to put herself out there and make a big play. So at this time of the year, you can't run a play or two or three or four that are going to trick anybody and that's going to surprise anybody. So you need players that can make plays, and I think she's one of those kids that can, and more often than not does. So it was good to see her get involved in so many different aspects of the game. We've been missing that for a long, long time.
Hey, Geno, Remy with the Times. I was just talking with Coach Daly about what this idea of legacy, and I was just wondering how you feel she has contributed to your success over all these years.
I mean, I think it's been well documented over the years, just by the fact that, you know, she was the first assistant coach inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Her and Mickey DeMoss. Shows you what the level that she's of respect that people have for her in the basketball world. And it's unusual that you have someone be in one place that long. You know, certainly there's, you know, head coaches that have been, you know, at their school for as long, but usually assistants find their way and want to move on and want to take on different challenges. So it's unique that, you know, that she's able to spend that much time here and be able to put her stamp on the program in, you know, in every way. You know, you hear sometimes people describe assistant coaches, she's a great recruiter, or he's a great recruiter, or, you know, they're great at X's and O's. They're great at scouting reports. And on our staff, everybody has to do everything, and so her stamp and her influence is on every aspect of our program. You know, I've told coaching friends of mine, men's and women's basketball, that, you know, I could go to Italy for the summer, and when I come back, things will be better than when I left. The players, you know, will have a lot more fun. It'll also be a little less scatterbrained around here. You know, things will be more organized. There'll be a schedule, and everybody will be on time, and everything will go according to plan, and there'll be no, there'll be no doubt as to what was coming next. And so it would be a really boring life for our players, but things would be in a much better place if she was in charge. And I keep threatening to leave, and she freaks out because she kind of likes the role that she has.
One final question. Anyone? Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Woo, ouch. Jesus.